The world has begun its descent into chaos. You can see this as war expands into every corner of the earth, and there doesn't seem to be any stopping it. Let's go into some of that today. U.S. forces are carrying out operations here, and this is Somali officials say U.S. struck where Al-Shabaab were meeting. And this occurred just recently, and you can see this here as Al-Qaeda makes its way into every country around the world, and the U.S. needed to take them out, so they did an attack here. And I'll get into what this really means in a moment. However, let's just look at the facts. They said that they bombed this area where Al-Qaeda was, and my suggestion to the U.S., if they do not want to have to bomb Al-Qaeda in Africa and the Middle East, why don't they just stop funding them? That would probably be the best solution. Stop giving them weapons, stop giving them training, stop giving them everything that they need to expand. But of course, this is an upside down world. Pentagon set to open second drone base in Niger as it expands operations in Africa. Yet another country getting its drone base apparently in the middle of nowhere. And it's basically expanding its operations, spending multi-million dollars and billion dollars in Africa to expand the war. Now, speaking of expansion, map, the U.S. military currently has troops in these African countries. Let's scroll down just for a moment here. You have, I believe it's 13 countries that they're willing to admit that they're holding operations in, and you can see this right here as they expanded the war from the Middle East, bringing it down into Africa. They want the resources, they want the oil from the Middle East, and they want all sorts of resources from Africa, and they are willing to do whatever it takes. They're expanding Al-Qaeda there. Of course, what happened not too long ago, I believe it was Libya, where they essentially gave them everything they needed. And what did they do? They just went out and slaughtered all sorts of people. It's no different than what's happening in Iraq right now. NATO weighs rapid response force for Eastern Europe. You can see how the tensions are rising within the Russia and Ukraine, and you can see what's going to happen as it brings in the proxies into this. You don't want to have, let's say, US and Russia fighting together, so they're going to perhaps fund the Ukraine, perhaps do all sorts of things. Who knows what's going to happen? But NATO is setting up on the border in Eastern Europe, and they are ready to fight, it seems like, anyway. And Putin doesn't seem to be able to let up at all on this. So let's continue on. UK announces tougher measures against homegrown jihadists. Now, what I find that happens when you have an expansion of war in a foreign country, it somehow tightens the laws within our own countries. It's very interesting the way it works. So they have been funding Al-Qaeda, ISIS, whatever you want to call it, all this time, and they've been giving them the training and the weapons and everything they need. So they are now expanding within the Middle East, in Iraq in particular. Let's go with that for the moment. But what do? They bring that back home and basically increase the regulations all upon us. And at the same time, they say to us that it's, we need to keep you safe, we need to do this for you. But they're stealing our liberties little by little, and they did this after 9/11, they did it after Oklahoma City, and you see where I'm going with this. But essentially, I don't think that funding these groups in the Middle East, in Africa, are going to do any good to stop them from expanding. It doesn't make any sense. Just don't fund them, don't give them money and training and weapons, and they won't be able to expand. It's so ludicrous to have to come on here and talk to you guys about this. Now, I predicted it in my book as other things here, but I said the U.S. among other countries has marched past Afghanistan and Iraq and is expanding wars further by attacking Pakistan, Egypt, Yemen, Libya, and others, and the violence and the uproar is going on, and the contagion will undoubtedly bring more intervention by US and NATO. It's pretty obvious to say that. You know that it's going to happen because of the way that this system works. They just continue to expand. The military-industrial complex continues its expansion all around the world. It's getting worse, and they're using Al-Qaeda as that boogeyman to have to go into all these other countries to continue to spend the billions of dollars to drop the bombs on all these countries, killing innocent women and children. And it is pretty sick that it's going on right now before our very eyes. I want you guys to give me a thumbs up if you can. It really helps me out to signal that you like this information, and of course that I should continue on to make more videos. If you want the best intel, it's at themoneygps.com. It's the Money GPS Insiders. It's totally free, and that is at the bottom. You scroll down, you fill in your email address, and you get occasional emails from me with good, short, concise info.